during the interactive tools sessions. And so it's just a good idea with your students to kind of set some guidelines, right? They want to do what we want them to do, right? And so if you kind of set the stage so that they know what you expect, whether you want them to use chat or whether you want them to have their cameras on or off, all of those kind of details, if you just put them on a slide at the beginning of your presentation, your class, it'll help them kind of remember those rules. And there's nothing wrong with repeating those rules too. So keep that stuff in mind. So I'm going to have some guidelines for us to work with today. Danny already said this, but be prepared to participate. We're actually going to go into breakout rooms together. You'll see what that's like, and you're going to write on the screen, which is kind of cool. So we're going to do some really neat things. If you would like to, depends on the time. If there's time at the end for questions, we'll let you open up your mics if you have a question. In the meantime, if you wouldn't mind putting your questions in chat, that will be easier for me to keep track of. And also that way, if there's anything I don't get to, I will have it captured so I can get back to you. You can either email me or we'll find some way to kind of share that information. I already mentioned those nonverbal feedback icons, but now we have a few more people, so I'm going to show you those again. So at the bottom of your participants panel, so on the bottom of your Zoom window, if you click the participants button, you'll get this participants panel. Yours will look a little different than mine because I'm a host, but you'll have these nonverbal feedback icons at the bottom here. And so you can use those throughout your classes, just like I'll do with you guys tonight, to see if people are ready to move on to the next topic, or if somebody has a question, things like that. And so you'll see as I finish a section, maybe I'll say, give me a green check if you're good to go, give me a red X if you have a question. So I kind of use those like that. So that's why we like you to have your participants panel open. If you don't have those feedback icons, I can show you after the session how to enable those in your Zoom settings so that you'll have them next time and you'll have them for your own classes with your students. And so those are really, really kind of cool. Yeah, students can participate. That's actually what this is about tonight. We're going to show you some ways that students can participate through, well, actually, you know what? It's on my very next slide. It's in my objectives. So nonverbal feedback icons. And then in the meantime, like I said, use the chat for questions and we'll be good to go. So these are our objectives for tonight. We're going to use Zoom tools to promote collaboration during virtual class meetings. We're going to apply best practices for using private chat, breakout rooms, and annotations. And then we're going to figure out how to choose the best Zoom tool to accomplish whatever your goal is. I said this, well, I say this all the time whenever I teach this class. Breakout rooms take a little bit of work. Once you get used to it, easy, right? But in the meantime, they take a little bit of extra work. And so if a breakout room kind of isn't necessary for what your goal is, don't do the extra work. But they are really kind of fun, and they give students that kind of small group experience that you might be missing from a face-to-face class. So anyway, those are just some things to think about. So we'll talk about all of those things as we go along. And again, please ask questions. Sometimes I forget to say things, and other times you'll just think of things that that I didn't think of, and so it'll give me a way to clarify those things. Yes, we are. Thank you. I forgot to talk about recording. Thank you, Danny. We are definitely recording. Is Zoom free? There is a free Zoom account, and you can't record to the cloud. You can record to your personal computer. You also, free accounts are up to 40 minutes. So if your session goes over 40 minutes, you'll get kicked out. So it just depends. Lots of schools, especially in response to COVID, are having, university-wide or business-wide, whatever you want to call it, Zoom accounts. So you can think about that too. And so you can go and check out, all those options and everything for that. The number of people, as far as I know, is not limited in no, I shouldn't say that. It depends on your account. I don't know what the limit for a free account is. The most limiting factor of a free account is that 40-person limit. So that's something to think about. Some of the tools we talk about tonight, and I think Breakout Rooms is one of them, are not available with a free account. But again, I saw some people chatting that they were using Blackboard, for example. Blackboard Collaborate they have breakout rooms in there. I forget, I don't think they're called exactly breakout rooms. I can't remember the exact name, but it's small groups just like this is. So you'll be able to take these strategies and use them in your own. Oh, Kim, thank you. Kim says 100 people for a free account. So very good. I know, and you know, this is depends on, you know, different people think different amounts of money is a lot and so forth. So it's up to you. There's a Zoom account. It's $15 a month. For some people, they don't mind paying that to have those extra features. Again, totally up to you. Definitely see what your school has first, because like I said, there are lots of different options. So, all right, we are going to get started then. So if you were here last week, this slide will look familiar to you. And so this poor girl is about to bite her pencil in half. Says she just can't pay attention. And so last week we talked about some different interactive tools you could use to kind of keep students' attention and things like that. This week we're going to go one more step. And so we're going to talk about the kind of how to counteract the objective where I'll get students that complain sometimes to be like, I can't teach this to myself, right? And I don't want them to feel like that in an online class, but sometimes they do. And so all the things we talk about tonight are about collaboration, helping them feel connected to other learners so that they don't feel like they're by themselves. And so it really does do a good job of kind of replicating what goes on in a live classroom. So that's what we're going to do. So I just have a little question here for you guys. So this is we're going to just put it in chat. So just you can share your thoughts there. I just want you to share an experience you had collaborating with others in an educational setting. It doesn't have to be online, just any collaboration you've had. Like what kind of thing did you do? I know, work in Google Docs. Google's my favorite. Wrote a group poem, very nice. Designed an interdisciplinary course, love that. Think, pair, share. Kathleen, you're gonna see something familiar in a couple slides. Worked on math problems. I'm a recovering math teacher is sort of the joke that I make. I'm a math girl, I love it. Webinars, classroom setup, yep, with pods, team projects for engineering, data analysis, rewriting curriculum, breakout rooms with the ESL students just today. Very nice, Mindy. Yeah, so we all have these experiences to build on, right? And so let me just ask one question first. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna clear the nonverbal feedback icons. Does anybody know they're gonna be online for the fall yet? If you know you're gonna be online for the fall, give me a green check. If you're not gonna be online or you don't know it yet, give me a red X. And so I want to show you this as it's happening. And this is another thing I love those nonverbal feedback icons for. As people are voting, you can see right here, these numbers are changing. And so as of right now, 30 people say yes, they're going to be online for the fall, 16, 17 people say no. And so this is just a quick way, even though there's 75 people in here, that's a lot. For me to go down here like this and be like, okay, yeah, sort of, like, I can't, like, my mind doesn't work like that. I can't really keep track of that. But I can let those nonverbal feedback icons give me kind of a quick snapshot of what's going on here. And so it does look like most people know they're going to be online in the fall. So, geez, I'm glad you're here. Penn State is actually going to be face-to-face. Bigger classes are going to be online, and then we're going to be all remote after Thanksgiving. And of course, anything can change, right, between now and then, just based on, you know, what's happening and things like that. So this is a good time to kind of learn these strategies, sort of practice over the summer and everything like that. So I'm glad I asked that question. I can tell you guys need this, so that makes me feel a little Really good. So yes, only the host can see the totals. Thank you so much, Danny. Only the host can see the totals, or co-host can see the totals also, but students cannot see those. So good question. But like I said, it's just a way to do a quick check-in. I'll show you that at the end. If they're not enabled in your account, you can do that on the Zoom web portal by going to zoom.us. And so I'll show you how to enable those so that you'll have them available for all your meetings. I love those. Maybe it's 5 till class ends and I have time to do one more example and I don't know which example to choose and I have half the class saying they want one and half the class saying they want the other. I could do a quick vote that way to feel a little bit more fair. I actually probably would choose myself knowing what they really probably need, but you get the idea, right? You can get a quick read of the room that way. And so I love that. That was one of those interactive tools that we learned about last week. Yep, right here, Chuck. So I can see those totals. They're small. I know they're small to see on my screen, but those numbers are right above my my green check and my red X there. So that's how you can see those. When I'm done with that, you can choose. You can either tell people to go ahead and click it again to lower their hand or, you know, cancel out their green check or whatever, or I have a clear all button here. So if I clear all, they all disappear. So now they're gone. So we could start fresh with a new question or something like that. All right, so very good. So anyway, so you guys, you're ready for fall. I mean, you have all kinds of stuff going on. There's no doubt about that. We've talked about some different activities. So now we're gonna figure out how we could actually sort of convert, I don't know if that's the right word, but sort of like translate those activities, those in-person things that we did into an online setting. So what we talked about last week, one of the things, and so we're going to kind of get to the other end of the Bloom scale. So whenever we're talking about interactive items, remembering that kind of baseline information and things like that, we're talking about interaction. And so we talked about a lot of those interactive tools last week. This week, we're going to talk about more of the collaborative tools. So we're going to talk about applying and analyzing and maybe evaluating. Somebody said about creating a poem or writing curriculum. All that is on the upper end of the Bloom scale. And so using these collaborative activities in Zoom or another video conferencing platform can kind of help you get your students kind of further up that scale. And so we love that. Yeah, Robin, so you could use the yes, no thing kind of on the fly, and that would be good for those nonverbal feedback icons. I love polls though too. Again, we covered those last week. So I do a little bit of both. The polls have to be created in advance. And so if there's something, you know, like I said, just sort of low stakes, just sort of a question that you might have, like on the fly, I asked you, you know, who's teaching in the fall, right? I didn't have to really make a formal poll for that one. That was an easy yes, no. And so I could use that one for those nonverbal feedback icons. So great question. All right, so as far as tools in Zoom, and even if you weren't here last week, you might know how to use some of these. For basic interactions, you can do things with your microphone, you can share your screen. For intermediate type interaction, you can do things with those nonverbal feedback icons or chat, and also the regular polls, not just the kind of, you know, nonverbal feedback polls. But what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about group chat and how to use that for collaboration. We're going to talk about private chat and how to use that for collaboration. We're also going to talk about annotations. So we're going to write on that screen, which I don't care how old you are, it's just a fun thing to do. And then breakout rooms and kind of how to plan the use of those. So off we go. So I've kind of broken it up, what you can do with each of those tools that I talked about. So for chat, you could use that for a private chat where you're just writing back and forth to one person, or you could use it for a group chat where just everybody sort of just jumps in all together, like that question I asked you guys about, name one of the, you know, some sort of collaborative activity you've done in an educational setting. For annotations, you could use a whiteboard, and actually on the share menu in Zoom, you can actually choose a whiteboard. It'll just be a plain whiteboard. Or what I like to do for annotations is, instead of doing a whiteboard, and I have an example of this later because we're going to do a little debrief activity that I can show you that. I like to set up a PowerPoint slide the way that I want it for you guys to write on. I'll explain what that means in a minute, but like maybe I have like 4 different quadrants and I have like a different concept in each quadrant. And so I could do it that way, and then people could write, you know, on the slide from there. Again, a plain old whiteboard, anybody writes anywhere, that works too. So it just kind of is whatever your style is, or whatever you want to do. And then last is the breakout rooms. You can use those for small group work. We even have at Penn State people using breakout rooms for giving tests, for the proctor tests. They put 1 student in each breakout room, and then the host and like a co-host, if it's a TA or something like that, can actually go from room to room and just kind of check on students. It's not completely locked down, of course, but it's better than, you know, just everybody sort of looking at each other in the same Zoom room. So that's kind of a unique way that you can use it. Yes, we're actually going to talk about chat next. So that's the perfect lead-in question, Kathleen. So hang on for 1 second of that, or 1 second, and we'll talk about that. Yep, you can write on a tablet. I can write on my iPad, or I have a Wacom. It's not called a Bamboo anymore. I forget what it's called, but I have a Wacom tablet that I use to write on the screen. Absolutely. You can write just with your plain old mouse, or you can have a pencil. Yeah, Abraham has a Wacom too. I have my pencil. My Wacom sort of looks like a mouse pad. I'm just like writing on it and it appears on the screen. So depending on what you're doing, it's super handy. So I love it. What was I going to say? Yeah, I'll come back to chat. I was going to say something and I lost it. It'll come back, I'm sure. So this is kind of like how we're going to set up those collaborative tools. So we're going to start, thanks, Leslie. We're going to start with an activity. Now, this is sort of a bummer because we have so many people. We can't actually complete this activity the way I normally would, but I'm still going to show it to you. We're going to talk about it because you could use it on your own. So we could do something, and I forget who said think, pair, share, but this is one of the activities that you could do. So if you have some sort of, like, we're going to be doing later a breakout room activity where you guys are going to be in breakout rooms of 3 or 4 people, come up with some ideas, and then we'll come back together and share. Well, what you can use a think, pair, share for is you use some kind of question, something you want students to talk about, if it's a literature thing or an art thing, whatever your topic is, something that you want them to talk about, either to the group or whatever. Give them some time to think on their own. Like, just grab a piece of scrap paper, write a few ideas on, just on your own. And I actually set a timer. I'll give you 2 minutes. And so I'll set a timer. 2 minutes goes by. Hopefully they come up with some of those ideas. Then I pair them up and have people do a private chat. And this is actually one of the questions that Kathleen asked. So let me drag my chat over here. So now you guys can see my chat. Let me do this, open it up just a little bit. So we actually have some more functionality in chat than we used to. And Zoom came out with some updates based on the Zoom bombing that started whenever all of the online stuff started. And so you'll see right here, I have this little 3 dots over here. If I click this, and you probably won't see this in yours right now, but when you're the host, you'll see this. I can actually change it to no one can chat. So if I want their attention and I feel like they're kind of going off on the wrong track, I can just cut the chat off altogether. I can do it so host only can chat. That means that they can message me if they have a problem or a question, but they can't message each other. I can let them all message each other if they want to, but publicly, or I can let everyone message each other and privately. So I can go over here when I want to private chat, and this is what I would do is if I was going to pair you guys up. I could use my little drop down here where it says everyone, and then I could go down my list and find somebody to do a private chat with. And so my friend Leslie is here, and I'm going to private chat with her. So I pick out Leslie's name like that, and then I can chat right here and say, hi, Leslie. And then she'll get that, but like if you look at your chat, you don't see that. It's only her that sees that, and we know that because it has this privately thing beside it. Okay, hopefully she'll say something back to me and that'll come up. Now, one question that students often have and instructors often have is, see, she said hello to me, I'm so excited. Is the private chat part of the chat kind of transcript of the whole meeting? It is not. Now, if I print my own chat, so right here, if I use the 3 dots, and you should have this ability even as just a participant, not just a host. So if I use these 3 dots and I go save chat, so I could actually save the chat that had my private chat in it. But in the regular Zoom recording chat that will be on the Zoom website, it will be clean with no private chats in it. So if you're going to share the chat, maybe you share a bunch of links and things like that, or maybe you guys shared all those great ideas of ways that you collaborate in an educational setting. Maybe I want to capture those. So what I could do with those is I could print out that chat or save that chat so that I could collect those later. So students will often ask that about private chat. Can everybody see private chat? No, nobody can see private chat except the person who's sending the private chat and the person who's receiving the private chat. All right, questions about that? Any more questions about this, just this part of the chat right here about, you know, who can chat with who and any of that stuff? I think we look okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move this out of the way. And so Leslie said she just saved it and it went to a folder on her desktop. Exactly. And so I'll just show you what that looks like. So if I go save, you'll see right here it says chat saved. And then so I don't lose it, I have this link here that says show in folder. I can just click it and then that will open up. And all of the things that happen in this meeting, and I'll show you later, we can save an annotation and things like that, will show up right in this folder. So it's just an easy way, like I said, to just save that, save those things. So I'm just going to drag this off here for now. There we go. And so if you do a private chat with your students, and if you want them to use a private chat, you're probably going to have to show them this, right? You'll have to use the drop down and say, oh, you choose that person and things like that, just to give them an idea how it works. One thing else that you want to do is you want to make sure that the people connect with each other. So if I'm gonna put people in pairs, okay? So I put them in pairs, everybody's good. Before I actually set them loose on their activity, I'll be like, okay, has everybody made contact? And I'll just check through my participant panel to make sure that everybody has made contact with somebody, just so I make sure that nobody's sitting off by themselves, so that because they went, you know, somebody went to get a drink or something, right? Somebody walked away. They're not going to do that to you because you're going to have such an engaging and collaborative session. But if it were a normal instructor, that could happen. And so you just make sure, like I said, that they sort of touch base before you let them go. Okay, and it says, as a host, when you save chat, in that chat, someone messaged you privately like you just did, would it be saved? Oh, the private chat that was to me would be saved. The private chat that I send would be saved. So if you're gonna share a chat, you probably wanna share the one on the Zoom website that goes with the meeting recording, because that one will not have any of the private chats in there. Now, I could go ahead and I could edit, right? I could just pull out those private chats. Just be careful, that's all, just so that you make sure that you're not sharing anything that you shouldn't. So yeah, all right, and then you can also change your settings, as always, save chats at the end of the session. Yep, you got it. Oh, so there's on the participants panel, there's actually a go faster and a go slower. These always make me paranoid because I'm always paranoid I talk too fast. And so, but you know, if you were going too fast and your student said go slower, that you'd know it. So that's what those are for. It just means talk faster or talk slower. And handy for grading purposes, absolutely. Yep, okay, good deal. You guys are asking great questions. Nice. So anyway, so I would have people pair up, like I said, so chat, 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 everything's good. And then I'd pull everybody back together and I'd ask a couple people to share. Now, when I have people share, I usually have them raise a hand, and only if they want to. I don't like to call on people if nobody volunteers. Usually somebody will volunteer, but you could warn them if somebody doesn't volunteer. You're going to call on somebody. So I would have them raise their hand. Now, I don't care who raises their hand, but a few people raise their hand just so I can show you what happens with that. Okay, so Julie raised her hand first, and then Bridget. Okay, what I want you to know about this is these hands actually stay in order. So Julie raised her hand first, and then Annalisa, and then Dawn, and so on. So if I were answering questions, I would start with Julie. I would answer Julie's question, and then I could lower her hand. And so you'll see Julie disappears, and now Annalisa went to the top. And then the same thing with Annalisa, I can lower her hand. Same thing whenever Dawn goes to the top. So when people raise their hand, again, they stay in order. Exactly. So if you're playing a game or you're kind of doing a quiz review and you want to know who has the answer first, if they used a raised hand, you would know who got in there first. So kind of a cool thing. So that's one thing you can do. I can clear hands just like I can clear the other icons that I have just by using this clear all. I'm going to go ahead and clear those just to show you what happens. Boom, they're gone. Or like I said, I can do them one at a time as I answer a question to kind of keep on going. But anyway, so when I bring everybody back together, like I said, and you'll see this at the end after we do breakout rooms. When I bring everybody back together, I will say who would be willing to share some ideas. I have them raise their hand. I call on them like that. I do 2 or 3 groups, and then we move on from there. So I'm just going to put this back over here. Oh, Allison, no, the host cannot see private messaging. The only way I know you're corrected. The only way I know that you're connected is if I say to you, raise your hand or give me a green check or something like that when you've connected with your partner. Yeah, absolutely. I cannot see the private chat. And so in that way, like I said, depending on the age of the students and kind of all those other things, private chat is maybe something you don't want to do. It's just an idea. We actually are doing all of our summer camps, even our sports camps and all of those things this year on Zoom. I know it sounds crazy, but that's all they can do, all the Penn State camps and things. And so we did a bunch of trainings for them as well, where the rules are completely different because you're working with kids. And so, just rules about, they weren't allowed to use private chat and those things. So you kind of know what your students are capable of or whatever. So you can't see it on mine, but you guys should have a raised hand right over here. So that's where that raised hand is. So if you want to raise your hand, you'll click that, or you can do one of those other options. So let me put that over there. Let me see what else I missed. I don't know, Edward, what are you implying? I think that I just have big helpers here, that's all. No, that's okay, Mimi. So again, both of the so at the bottom of your screen, you do the nonverbal feedback icons out. If you click the participant panel, you can click that, that'll pop up. If you don't have those, which you might not, I can show you how to enable those later. That's one thing about Zoom that you kind of have to keep in mind. Zoom sort of does, or like kind of picks up the settings, you can sort of think about it like that, at the beginning of a meeting. So if I'm missing something during a meeting, I can't go fix it. Like I can't go change my settings and come back. It won't, even if I went right now to change something in my settings, those settings won't take effect until the next time I start a Zoom meeting. So that's just something to think about. So a best practice is, if you are doing something in Zoom, you're having a meeting or whatever, and you realize something is missing, make yourself a giant Post-it note so that after the session, you go to the Zoom settings. That way you'll have it the next time. So that is something to think about. Exit full screen. Great question. If you're on one monitor, Zoom has a tendency to sort of take up the whole thing and you don't know how to get out from behind it to do other things. Hit escape. So if you hit escape, it'll make Zoom just a tiny bit smaller so you can kind of click out around it. Excellent question. All right. Okay, so that's how we would do a think, pair, share. Another way you could do a think, pair, share if you didn't want to use private chat, which is totally fine, you could do breakout rooms and then only have 2 people in each room. That would be the same thing, like a private chat. So another option as far as that goes. Okay. And so this is the activity we were going to do. We were just going to say, what is something you are doing in your online class that could be more interactive or collaborative? We're not going to do that right now. Keep that question in mind. That's what we're going to talk about when we actually really do our breakout room activity. So, breakout rooms. So, what can you use breakout rooms for? Breakout rooms are for anything that would normally be a small group thing in a face-to-face class, if you want to think about it like that. You could use it for different teams or groups to share projects, or I'm sorry, to share content. Maybe you assigned a group project, and so maybe, you know, for each class, you're going to give them 20 minutes to work on their group project. You could send them into groups based on their teams. Send them into breakout rooms based on their groups, and then they could have a little bit of work time that way. During breakout rooms, you'll see in just a minute, you can actually visit and go from room to room, so you can sort of check on them. It's not quite like it is in a live class, because in a live class, I can be standing in one place and pretty much hear every breakout room, at least a little bit. So you do have to go from room to room, but students really do seem to appreciate it. So it'll be okay. You can do team competitions. You can do things like scavenger hunts, or kind of give them some problem to solve. You could actually do maybe like an escape room type thing, where they would have to give you they would have to solve some problem to kind of get out of their breakout room. That would be sort of fun. And again, like I mentioned earlier, you could actually do individual breakout rooms if you were going to do something like testing, or maybe you're meeting with your advisees or something like that. So that's a kind of a good, another good use for it. Lisa asked a really good question. Is there a way to move from room to room without going back to the main room first? There is, and I'll show you that whenever I show you on the, I'll share my screen and I'll share that window with you. Basically what it is, when you're in a room, if you click the breakout buttons, you'll have a list of the rooms, and then each of them has a join button. So you can go from one room to the other, just straight over without having to come from the main room. There you go. I love to change the game. Good job. Excellent. And Kathleen says, is there a help option students have? Yes, they do. There's an ask students, ask for help. I forget what it says. I'm going to show you that right now. But absolutely, we do have that. So let me just show you for setting up breakout rooms. So the first thing you do whenever you're going to set up breakout rooms is you're going to click the breakout room button on the toolbar. You might not have that right now. You will have it after I start breakout rooms, but for right now, you don't have that. But I'm going to drag mine over and show you what it looks like. So I'm going to bring my little window over here. And one thing that Zoom does to kind of help you out is it condenses this menu down here. And so you'll notice I have a more button. If I open my window up a little bigger, you'll notice that some of those things under more sort of pop out. So let's see what pops out next. Yeah, chat popped out, and let's see what else. There's my recording buttons. I think breakout rooms is next. Yep, and there's my breakout room buttons. So depending on how big or how small your Zoom window is, based on how big you have it, don't panic if you don't see one of your options that you're looking for. Just click that more button, and then you'll see all of your options right there. So there's my breakout rooms button, so I'm gonna click that. Whoopsie, so I'm just gonna put this over here. And put this over here where you can see it. So you can see right now it says I have assign 78 participants into, and right now it's just one room. And then if I do that, it says I'll have 78 participants per room. Okay. If I use my up arrow to do more rooms, so I have 2 rooms, now I'll have 39 each. 3 rooms, I'll have 26 each. So I usually up until I get the right number of students that I want in each of my breakout rooms. I like 3 to 4 or 4 to 5. There's 4 to 5. Yeah, let's leave it 4. Well, yeah, let's leave it 4 to 5. So I'm going to do 16 rooms because there's so many of you, and 4 to 5 participants per room. Now, I can either do it automatically, that lets Zoom kind of just send you out into all those rooms, or I can do it manually. I'm going to show you what manually looks like, but I'm not actually going to do that because there's too many of you to move around. So I'm going to say create rooms. And so when I do that, I get this big list. Make this bigger. There's all my breakout rooms, right? If I hover over one, I can rename it. So depending on what it is, maybe I would have authors, right? Maybe one would be Chaucer and another one would be Shakespeare and another one be, I don't know what, like that. So I could name them certain things. If it were groups and they were working on different countries in a geography class, I could name it by country. Or in math, I could name it by, you know, the section in the book or whatever it was. So you can change those if you want to. At any time, if I like, oh, I have too many students now, I could just delete one of those rooms if I wanted to. Over here is the assign button. And when I click assign, it gives me a list of everybody in our session so I can start putting people into these rooms. So I'll just put a few people in here. There you go. So those people are in breakout room 1, and then I'll go assign, and then the next some people I'll put in breakout room 2, and so forth. A cool tip is, if you want students to be able to kind of choose what room they go in, and you don't know that information ahead of time, what you can do is you can tell students, teach them how to rename themselves. So right here, it'll be hard to see, but I'm going to try and do it anyway. I'm going to hover over my own name, okay, right here. And when I do that, I have a more button. I'm going to click more, and I'm going to choose rename. And you'll see it pops up with my name, but I'm going to put, let's see, statistics after my name. And so now you'll see my name's Lea Rosenberry, and then I have statistics in parentheses. You could have students actually rename themselves with the name of the group they wanted to be in that list. And then it would be easier whenever you're assigning to choose all the people that chose statistics or geometry or trig or whatever they were doing. So that's just one way to kind of let students choose which one they want to go to. Again, you don't have to do it that way. You can do it automatically, however you want to do it, but it's just an idea in case you do want to arrange them in a certain way. All right, so I'm going to put this back over here. I'm going to bring this back over here. And I showed you how to assign manually, but I'm going to let Zoom do it automatically. So the way I have to do this, I have to click recreate over here. So I'm going to click recreate. It's like, are you sure you want to start over? I'm going to say, yeah, I want to start over. So I'm going to go automatically. And now I'm going to say recreate all rooms, and it'll put people in, but randomly. So I'm going to just do that. And so now everybody's in their breakout room, just like this. And so those are all the rooms. I can actually check down through and kind of make sure, are there people that maybe I shouldn't put together? Or the people that I want to work together? Maybe I have a really strong person and then a really, person who's struggling, or 2 friends that I know are working together on something. I want to make sure they're together. In order to move somebody from room to room, you just hover over them, and then I could just click move, and then I could choose a different room to put that person in. So it's really very customizable. The other thing you can do is you can actually assign breakout rooms in advance on the Zoom portal. And you can do that by uploading a CSV. That's a comma separated value file, which is just a stripped down Excel file. So you could assign them in advance that way. And I can show you that at the end if you'd like to see that. So I've decided who I want in what room, I let Zoom do it. The other thing you want to check out before you do the breakout rooms is your breakout room options. And so if you click this. Now, The first one, move all participants into breakout rooms automatically. That's a good idea. The reason it's a good idea is because if you don't do that, Zoom will do a little pop-up on the person's computer. And if the person isn't paying attention and they don't see it and click it, they won't be put into a breakout room and they'll think something's wrong. It's just a better idea to send everybody out automatically. So that's one thing to think about, but I'm actually going to do that today. So I'll send everybody out automatically. I can allow participants to return to the main session at any time, or I can keep everybody in their breakout room until I close the breakout room. So I'm gonna uncheck that one so that I'm gonna have people in there, and then after I close them, then they'll come back. I can set a time in advance if I want to. So breakout rooms close automatically after some certain amount of time. I'm not gonna do that. If you knew exactly how long you wanted your activity to be, if you wanted to give students 20 minutes to create a review or solve a problem or whatever, you could do it that way to keep track for you. Here, countdown after closing breakout rooms. I love this option. If I do this and I have it set for 60 seconds, when I click close breakout rooms, it just gives everybody a countdown so that they can sort of finish up their conversation and then they'll get pulled back to the main room. So it's just a way to kind of close things out, not so abruptly, if you wanna put it that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that one checked. All right, that was a lot. What? Oh, I haven't even been looking. Jeez, I've been looking over this way talking about breakout rooms. I haven't even looked at these questions. Let me go back and grab these questions. Let me see. I will show you how they can ask for help. Once I open, or in just 1 second, I'll show you that I have it on a screen. Yes, I can do the breakout rooms in advance, and yes, I can name them in advance if I would like to do that. Yes, I will show you how to pre-assign in just a minute whenever we go to the Zoom portal. And I'll show you how to do the CSV, absolutely. Yep, pre-assign, everybody wants to pre-assign. I'm sensing a theme here. Yes, actually, if you create breakout rooms and you have a recurring meeting, then those same breakout rooms will be available for the next meeting, as long as you upload them in advance. If you're just doing them automatically, then that won't work because Zoom kind of did it for you. But if you upload them and pre-assign them, then those will be available for your next meeting and your next meeting too. Absolutely. They do and they don't reset. If they're automatic, they reset. If they're manual because you uploaded them, they don't reset. There is no way to do a private message to more than one person at a time. I really want that feature too, Carla. Yeah, but it's just either privately or publicly. I can communicate with just hosts though. So if there's a host and a co-host, I can communicate with both of them, but I can't choose like 2 people from my list or anything. Can't do that. It does keep record of who was in which group. Yep. You can't do it so they can't see you. If you go into a breakout room, if they're not paying attention, they won't know you got there. So there is that. But if anybody's paying attention, they'll know that you came in. And I'll show you how to get attendance whenever I go to the Zoom portal. Absolutely. All right, lots of great questions. Okay, so let me come back over here. And 45, okay, goodness gracious, this time just flies when I'm doing these sessions with you guys. Okay, so I've already kind of set it up and everything. I'm just gonna pull this off to the side. That was showing you how to set up. Now I'm gonna come back, kind of talk about the activity a little bit, and then we'll actually do that activity. When you are in a breakout room, this is just a couple more PowerPoints to kind of show you what goes on. When you're in a breakout room, so you saw that big list, I can actually broadcast a message to everybody in the breakout rooms. So maybe halfway through the time, you would send a message to students and say, you should be working on, problem 3 by now, or maybe there's 2 parts and you want to work on the second part, just to kind of give them an idea, that time is, running out. Maybe you just want to send the time. So that's an option that you have there. Once a student gets into a breakout room, it really just looks like any other Zoom room. So if they walked away to get a sandwich and they came back, they won't even know they're in a breakout room. So this is how you can tell the difference though. In a breakout room, a student or a participant will have the Ask for Help button. If they click this, the host will get a message to say that breakout room 1 is asking for help. And then I'll be able to go to breakout 1, answer their question, and help them like that. So that's really the only difference that they see is this Ask for Help button. People were asking about recording in breakout rooms. You can't, it doesn't happen automatically. You can allow somebody to record. The only problem is it will record on their personal computer and then they would have to send the recording to you. So it is a little convoluted. It's not a straightforward type thing. So that is something to think about. If you do have enough people like a co-host or a teaching assistant, or maybe you could assign it to group leaders or something like that, somebody that you can trust, or honestly, if you tied it to a grade, I bet they would do it if you tied it to a grade, you could have them record in their breakout rooms and then do it that way. You know, I just thought of this. A really good practice or a really good thing for breakout rooms is let them practice presenting things to each other and stuff like that. If they're maybe you're in a speech class or something like that. So anyway, just something to think about. Yeah, if more than one group needs help at one time, you just have to go one after the other. There's nothing really you can do with that. That's why we love to have a co-host or something like that, just somebody who can step in and kind of split it up. Whenever I'm working with somebody else, I'll say, I'll take rooms 1 through 3, you take rooms 4 through 6 or something like that. We just go back and forth that way. All right. So that was kind of how to set them up and things like that. Now we're going to kind of switch back and say, okay, what are we doing this for? What's the best way to do it and things like that. So right here, you want to make sure you have a clear plan, right? Now, the first time you use breakout rooms, students are going to be learning how to use them and you're kind of setting the ground rules and things like that. If you do it once a week throughout your class, they're going to be pros in no time. So this is just what to think about it ahead of time. I just don't want you to think that every single time it'll be sort of cumbersome or whatever. You want to have the students do some pre-work. Maybe that is at home, right? Maybe that is solving a problem for homework or whatever like that. You want to make sure that you give clear instructions so they know what they're supposed to talk about whenever they get in there. You want to check for understanding. So even though you you explain what you want them to do when they're in there, do they really know what you want them to do when you're in there? So just, you know, like I said, just check for understanding. Then you'll send them out. And then you want to have instructions based on what they're going to be doing. You want to have instructions available to them when they're in the room. One drawback of Zoom breakout rooms is that you can't kind of preload them with anything. So I can't sort of have them set up for what I want students to do. So because of that, I have to share whatever I want to share with them in advance before I send them out. And so that's what I'm actually going to show you guys how to do today. Or I'm going to do that with you today. Just because we're running out of time, I'm going to skip this pre-work. I don't recommend that for real students, but just saying. So you'd have them do some pre-work, and then I would give them instructions about what I want them to do once they were inside their breakout room. So we're going to say, okay, we're going to take 7 minutes for this activity. Once you get into breakout rooms, I want you to unmute your mic. So you're just going to click right down here in the lower left and click on unmute so that you can talk to each other. Talk to your breakout room partners or whatever. You're going to choose a group leader because you need somebody to be the one who takes notes. So choose a group leader in some way. And then also you can have that person share their screen. And that's just that green button down at the bottom. And then it would be great if everybody could share one idea from their list, something about how they want to make something more interactive. And then you're going to talk about any challenges or whatever. Now, of course, we're kind of rushed right now and we're just kind of showing you what the activity works. So go ahead and share some ideas, but it's more that I want you to experience what a breakout room is. When I send you guys out, I'm going to come around. Actually, will I make it to every breakout room? I don't know if I will because there's 16, but I'll try. I'll pop around to each of the breakout rooms and just say, hey, and show you what that looks like. I'll also send you a message so you can see what that looks like. And then we will go from there. So let me grab my instructions that I want to share with you. But where are they? I think I've got them here. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to put a link in the chat, and I would like you to open this link. That is the instructions for today. So it's literally just a page of instructions to kind of tell you what you're going to do when you're in there. So click on that. You might have to copy and paste it. Mine is clickable. So if I just click it, it'll actually pop up. It's popping up on another screen. I'll drag that over and show you. There we go. It's popping up right here. If you don't have that, you can open it with Google Docs. You can make a copy. Really, again, only one person has to do that, just to keep some ideas, like when you guys are chatting or whatever. So let me pull this away from here. I'm going to pull my breakout rooms list back over here. So when you're actually ready to do the activity, you'll click this button right here, open all rooms. Okay? When I do that, because I chose send everybody out automatically, you're just going to go. You'll see a little pop-up that Zoom is thinking for a second, and then you'll go out. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and click this. Hold on. Do that. I'm going to click open all rooms. You'll go into your breakout rooms, have a little discussion. I'm going to say 5 minutes because we want to come back and do one more thing. So I'm going to open these up, and then you'll go to your rooms, and I'll see you in just a little bit. All right? I'm out. Bye, everybody. All right, I'm still recording. I think we're still recording. Yes, we're still recording. I wanted to just explain kind of what's going on here. People are going to their breakout rooms. I think I have a couple people who are not assigned, so let me see what that looks like. When people are not assigned, I'm going to scroll up to the top here and see if I have a list. Yes, okay, so I have a list of people who are not assigned. So when I hover over, I'm going to go assign to, and then I can just choose a room. So I'm going to put somebody in room 2. I'll put somebody in room 15, and I'll put somebody in room, I'm just looking at the numbers of people. So I'm just going to put somebody in room 6. There we go. Now everybody's assigned. And so you can see everybody's out there. If I scroll down through, when they have this green light like this, that tells me that those people are in breakout room 3. When they're not in their assigned room, right here, so Danny is not in his assigned room, he's here in the main room with me. It says not joined, and he has sort of like, instead of green, he has like a little hollow thing there, little circle. Scroll down, let's see. A couple more people have not joined. Let me see if I can do that. I don't know if it'll work or not. We'll see. And so now I'm just going to let everybody work on their little activity for a few minutes and go from there. I'm going to go visit rooms. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Also, once I go visit a room, I think we lose the screen share in here. So we might want to pause. Danny, if you might want to pause if I wait till I'm out and then pause, and then when I come back, we can turn it back on again. I'm going to go to breakout room 2. I do that by clicking the join button. And so I'm going to do that. You'll lose the share, and then Danny's going to pause. And so I'm going to say, yes, I want to go there. Okay, there we go. Okay, I am going to click my breakout room button. There we go. And so you can see our breakout rooms again. And so I'm going to actually just click that button to bring everybody back. I do that by saying close all rooms. And so what happens is you'll see they have that little timer right there. But you'll see as people start to come back, these rooms will, well, let me show you two things. You'll start to see lots of people popping up on our Zoom window here. And then you'll also see people, instead of a green light, which means they're in their room, they'll actually start to come back and they won't look green anymore. So people are, looks like some people, oh, there we go. So there we have somebody's coming back. A couple people have come back down here. And so as this counts down, when it gets down to 0 seconds, everybody's back, whether they want to be back or not. So that is how that works. I'm going to go ahead and put this on my other screen. Actually, I'm going to leave it here just to show you what happens. Mostly everybody's back. You can see we have some. There we go. Now they're all open. So now everybody's back. All right. And then when you're done with your breakout rooms, you could just close out of this, right? Just to close it out, I can just click the X, done, gone, and we're done with that. So I know we're at 7 o'clock already and we're supposed to be done, so I'll be really, really fast. When I talked about the, you could set up the whiteboard so that way you could, you know, share and do annotations and stuff like that. We won't share ideas because we ran out of time, and that's okay. But just to show you what that looks like, right here, I have my share screen. This is my little share screen toolbar. At the top of your Zoom window, you should see you are viewing Lea Rosenberry's screen. And right beside that, you should have view options. If you click view options, you will have the annotate button. Now don't start annotating because this whole slide is going to get crazy filled up, but I just want to show you really quick. So I'm going to click the annotate button and you'll have a menu that looks pretty much like this, but you just choose a tool and then you just start writing. As the instructor, I love to use the spotlight because I can point at things and then I have like a little red ball. It just helps you see my screen a little bit better. The other thing I love, I have this arrow right here. I can point at something and it leaves my name by it. Another thing I wanted to show you really quickly is right here, I have show names of annotators. So I'm going to click that. Now feel free to start writing on my screen. And look, Mindy's making hearts. And you'll see they're just popping up. Olivia made a star. They're popping up really quickly. And you're like, I won't know who did that. That was too fast. Well, guess what? You have special powers as the host. I'm going to go right here to select. And then as the host, if I hover over, Leslie made a scribble and Angelo did some typing and Carrie did some typing. And so you can do it that way. So you can actually have your students put on, you know, different things on here, and then you could go back to them later. As soon as they know, you'll know who wrote what. There won't be any problem with anybody writing something that they're not supposed to write. Right here, if I just want to write on the screen, I can use text. I can do drawing if I choose my drawing tool. First, I have to go back to mouse. Then I have to choose draw. I can choose that. And I can just freehand and write on my screen like that. One really quick thing I want to show you is you can save this. So hopefully, like in a better world, in a time goes slower world, we would have had this nice activity. And then right here, I can go save. And then again, it saved it. And I can click show in folder again. And that'll make it pop up back in that same folder. So you'll have a nice artifact of different strategies and things like that. So this is one way to set it up where it's just kind of like, you know, plain and willy-nilly and you can kind of drag stuff around. The other way that you can do it, here, I'm gonna actually do something. I told people I would show them this too. I don't know if I showed you this before. Sorry, it's crazy. My security button right here. If I click security and I have annotate on shared screen, I can turn it off and you won't be able to annotate anymore. I can take your powers away. So you can actually not let students annotate until you're ready for them to. That way they won't get carried away, because it's just fun to write on a screen. I can't help it. And so over here, I can go save, like I said, and then show in folder. I can clear my drawings. I can clear everybody's drawings and start with a clean slate. On the next slide, depending if you know how many groups you're going to have, you could actually line it out so that you have space for 6 groups to share. So you can set that slide up any way that you wanted to. And then, or you can just share a whiteboard, just a plain old whiteboard, and you're good to go that way. All right, I'm sorry we ran late, everybody. And now my dog is going to chime in too. Just really quickly, best practices for breakout rooms: have a co-facilitator to help you, just because that way they can go into room to room and things like that. So it's just another way. Again, make sure you give those concrete instructions. And then the last thing, and I mentioned this before too, make sure there's added value. You don't want to do it if it's not going to be, if it's not going to serve some purpose, if you want to put it that way. And I have lots of questions. I promise I'll go and grab those. Let me just see what else is here. And then that's it. And so hopefully you should be able to do these things by now. Use Zoom tools to promote collaboration during virtual class meetings. Apply best practices for private chat, breakout rooms, and annotations. And then also choose the best Zoom tool. And again, these things apply to everything. So you can use it for other things as well. And so there is my information. It's just Lea, so just Lea, that's my first name, lea@psu.edu. If you have a question, feel free to send it. There's my LinkedIn. If you want to connect on LinkedIn, it's just Lea Rosenberry, and you can find me there. But let me go back really quickly and see if I can answer some questions really quickly. Let me see. There is no formula editor. That is a big bummer. But you can, you know, write in text, or, you know, like you can write freehand, so you can do it that way. Okay, so I just have my my tablet that I told you I have. My tablet is just hooked up to my computer with USB, and then I can just write on my tablet and it shows up on my screen. You can also do it with an iPad, or even an iPhone, I guess. I didn't think about an iPhone, but there's no reason why that wouldn't work as well. Again, that toolbar, you'll find it by going to you're viewing Lea Rosenberry's screen. Right next to it is View Options, and then the Annotate would be in that list. The reason you don't have it right now, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on again. Can't help myself. I love it when you guys can play too. I turned it back on, so you'll have that again. Allison says, is there a way to avoid people typing in the same places? As the host, you can actually move things. So even if they type in the same place, you can drag things around to rearrange them so that it doesn't, it won't make a difference. The other thing you can do is set up a slide with those kind of rectangles on, like I said, so that way they'll have a better idea of where they're supposed to put their little blurbs or whatever. So that helps too. Yep, and to get rid of the writing, again, all you do is you click on the clear button. So you can clear all drawings, clear my drawings, clear viewers' drawings. So you can just hit one of those and they'll disappear. And I think that is most everything. And we're out of time. Listen, I'm gonna turn it back over to Danny, and then listen to me. I promise it is okay. People emailed me after last week's session, lea@psu.edu. If there's something we didn't get to, I promise you, send me an email and I'll send you a resource back. Mindy says, she really does answer your email, y'all. Exactly, I definitely do.
Okay.
Thank you guys for coming. Sorry, go ahead, Danny, sorry.
No, thank you so much. We appreciate you working to get to everybody's question. So thank you to our audience for attending. Thank you, Professor Rosenberry, for the presentation. Professor Rosenberry has shared her email. If you want to get in contact with us at Hawks, you can reach us at marketing@hawkslearning.com. We will be emailing you out a recording of this along with the recording from last week. You can view our other webinars on our blog at blog@hawkslearning.com. And I think the one thing we had hoped to get to and didn't, and we can either try to get to it now or we can just address it alongside that recording, is how to do the CSV file. So
Perfect.
Professor Rosenberry, I just want to leave that up to you. Either way works for me.
I'm good if you're good.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna I'm gonna go to the Zoom portal. And so to do that, you just go to zoom.us. And it's taking its good old time. There we go, good. Okay, and so I'm just gonna sign in. And I'm gonna sign into my account here. Did I get that? Yep, gonna go sign in. The way to pre-assign breakout rooms is to do it when you are creating your meeting. Click again, is it gonna work? I think my internet's given up on me, people. It says it's working, we'll see. Well, we're going to give it 1 second. If it doesn't work, I'll give you directions in a I'll give those directions to Danny to send out to you guys. There we go. Let's try it one more time. Okay, I know it's working. I guess it was just that one finicky window. At least it's thinking this time. Okay, maybe not. I will share, I have a list. I know I need to do breakout rooms. I need to show you how to turn on those nonverbal feedback icons. What else, what other questions did you have? And if I missed anything, let me know by an email and I'll share those things. It should let me. I don't know why it's not letting me. I always do this and I am always signed in a million times, so I don't think that's it.
Professor Rosenberry, I wonder if it's because you're the host in my meeting.
I don't
and that
think
may
so.
be causing the problem.
I mean, I guess unhost me. Good question. That could be.
Let's see. I think you're going to have to make.
Oh yeah, I have to do it myself. Sorry. Okay, now I'm just a normal person. Am I still sharing, Danny?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so now I'm in. Here we go. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm going to go create new meeting. And then when I scroll down, you'll do all your options right here. But you'll see if I scroll down, breakout room pre-assign is right there. So I'll just click that. And then I can do here to create the rooms. So if I do this, I can create the rooms. I can go like this. I can add, make it a special name if I want to, you know, however you want to do it. I can import from CSV. Again, that is just an Excel file that it's, you know, CSV's comma separated value. I can upload it from there and I'm good to go. If I actually click this, let me show you what happens. It'll give you a template to use. And it's a really simple template. It's just, it's basically just a list. Let me show you what it looks like. You just download that template. And it's just, like I said, I think it's just like the name and then the names of the people that you want in that room. And that's it. Super easy to use. Yep. So the pre-assigned room, you just put your room names here, and then you put your email addresses here, and that's it. And then whenever you open that up, they'll be, whenever people come in and you open up breakout rooms, they'll be assigned to the right room then. The only trick with that is you have to make sure that they sign in using that email address, whichever one that there is their school address or something like that, whatever one you're using for them. So that's the only thing you have to worry about there. And then the other thing is is settings. You have to go through your settings at some time or another in your life. Just read all the settings. I know it sounds crazy. There are tons of settings. If you just look, all of these are Zoom settings. But what I wanted to show you is I want to go right here. You'll see it says in meeting basic and then in meeting advanced. I'm going to go to in meeting basic really quick. It just takes me down faster. You want to make sure that chat is enabled. So anything that you want to use, you want to make sure is enabled. In one of the breakouts I popped into, somebody said they didn't want to use private chat. Look right here, private chat. You could just click right there and turn that off. And then you wouldn't have private chat in your meetings. Totally fine. But you just scroll down through here. You have options for, here's your polling. You want to turn that on. Screen sharing, you want to turn that on. Here's a whiteboard, you want to turn that on. And then here's nonverbal feedback. That's those nonverbal feedback icons. Make sure those are on. And if you have those on, then your students will have them too. So let me know if there's anything else. You guys are such troopers. It's 7:15. I'm keeping you up late. Well, not up late, but whatever you are. I do not know if there's polling in a free webinar, in a free Zoom meeting. I am not positive. Oh, one more question. Somebody wanted to know about attendance. Really quick about attendance. Once you hold a meeting, I can go right here to reports. And then up here under usage. So I'm going to click right here. You'll see I can view meetings, participants, and meeting minutes. That means how long somebody was in the meeting. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to open up this date. It only gives you like for the current day, like yesterday to today. So you need to adjust those dates if you want an older meeting. I'm just going to go from the beginning of June to now, and I'm going to click search. And so here's my nice list of all these meetings. I'm just going to pick any old one. Here's one I'm going to pick. And so right there is my participants list. So I can click right here, export meeting with data, export with meeting data. So that'll give me the date, the time, what meeting it was. And then a really neat thing is if you get bumped out, or if a student get bumped out and then they come back in, they look like they came twice. So here I am for 13 minutes and then there I am again for 14 minutes. There's a button here, show unique users. If I click that, it combines that and it's just one of me for 27 minutes. So that's kind of cool. So I like that. And then you just click export and then that's your attendance. You can do the same thing in that reports area. You can also pull a poll report. And so that's another way that some people take attendance, meetings, and then I have poll reports. Just click that. And then registration report you can get. I don't want that, I want a poll report. And so again, I can adjust these dates if I want to. I can search, it'll show me all my meetings that had a poll in it, and then I can choose whichever one. I can generate that report, and I can see what students answered, who answered what, that kind of thing. It's another way to take attendance. If you want to take attendance you want to make sure were people engaged the whole way through, you can do a poll a couple different times throughout the session. And then, if they weren't paying attention and they walked away, they probably missed it. So that kind of thing. Ooh, I don't know if the breakout rooms will show that. Jana, if you email me, I will check that. I actually had a breakout session and I can check that. I don't know if it makes note of that in any way, but I will find that out for you and let you know.
Professor Rosenberry, I'm going to cut it off there. I want to thank you for taking the extra time and getting to everybody's questions. Audience, thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everybody.